Hello everybody. Welcome to The Crazy. I'm your host, Mauricia. I am coming to you from my small town here in Northwest Arkansas, where I live with my family, our two dogs, Baron and Duke, and our bearded dragon, Sir Skellington. This is going to be a super late mid-year WIP parade, and this is a channel primarily about cross-stitch with a little bit of knitting, crochet, sewing, quilting, and any other crafting endeavors that I decide to dabble in. So for those of you who are just now joining, or this is your first time seeing me, like I said, my name is Mauricia. I've lived in Northwest Arkansas my entire life. I am an avid reader. I work in the healthcare field as a home health aide. What else is there? I'm an overall crafter, hence the name, A Crafter's Crazy Obsessions. So welcome if this is your first time joining me, and then welcome back to those who have decided to continue to watch me, even though I am not as active on any social media or posting as often as I had set up for myself, which is once a month. But I am coming to you today, so you're going to see the same shirt in the next 3 videos or 2 more videos. So welcome to The Crazy. So I have 18 WIPs. I forgot to mention that. Actually, no, I didn't. I just counted them because I didn't do that prior. I don't have any before photos because I've never done a WIP parade. So you're just going to go with what I have currently. And then if I do a WIP parade in December, which is more than likely going to happen, then you will see some before and after photos if they've been touched at all. So let's start with my oldest WIP. This is a dimensions kit that I got at I believe Walmart back in 2017, and that's when I started it. And this was before I realized it was not okay to use masking tape, but this is where I'm at. Pardon the creasing. I wash all my fabrics when I finish them. What I mean is, like, when I do my finishing, they go into a tub with a color catcher, and I hand wash them, and then I iron them. Or I'll iron them if they're finished and they're just gonna sit in the tub in my finished tub until I completely finish them. So I am not going to iron any of my projects, but that's what it looks like. It's on 14 count Aida, and I believe it's DMC threads, whatever dimensions uses. So this was started back in 2017. I don't have a date for it because I just found this like not even 3 months ago. No, not even then, like 2 months ago. The second one is My Nightmare Before Christmas. This was a counterfeit, so I'm not going to link this or anything below. I started this on February the 5th, 2024, and that's where I'm at. It's on 11 count, and I'm using 3 strands of DMC, and it's printed on. WIP number 3 is it. I believe it's called a wedding sampler or something from Meg C on Etsy. And I've labeled it Love Your Darkness. And this is where I'm at. Pardon the fan. It is hot. It is summer. I live in Arkansas, so it's hot. Maybe not as hot as Texas, but it is hot. And muggy because it rained yesterday. I started that on March the 1st, 2024. I am using all the called for DMC and a tea-dyed fabric that I dyed myself, which is 14 count Aida. The next one is Edgar Allan Poe by The Primitive Hair. I started this on March the 27th of 2024. I am using 14 count Aida that I tea-dyed myself and using the called for threads. So this is where it's at. Now we're moving on to 2025 WIPs or starts. Yep. So I started back at work with a new company after having 6 months off of working. And I started this on my first day back at work. So this is the Briar by Sprouting Lupine. This was in the Fairy Tale pattern booklet by Starlight Stitchery, or put out by Starlight Stitchery. And you can now get the patterns from the 10 designers that were featured in this booklet. But I had gotten the box for it. I am using 14 count parchment by Forbidden Fiber Co. 14 count Aida in the colorway Parchment by Forbidden Fiber Co. I'm using all the called for threads except for I subbed out this deep purple is supposed to be like a lighter version of this color, and I changed it out for Morgana, which was in the box. So these are all Forbidden Fiber Co. threads, and that's where I'm at. And I started this January the 21st of 2025. Oh, and I also did another conversion to that, or swapped out. It called for 2 DMCs, and I swapped those 2 DMCs out for Forbidden Fiber Co. Black Forest, which is a limited edition to that box, and Morgana, which was a limited edition to that box. Then we have I'm Late by Bothy Threads. This was a kit, so I'm using all the kitted stuff. And this is where it's at. Oh, let me just fold that back. My goodness. This is where it's at. I started this January the 23rd of 2025. Sorry if the fan is making that crazy. I'm trying to see. Oh, I put that in the wrong order. I always do that to myself. Let me move it real quick. Okay, sorry. The next one is Antique Celtic Sampler by Elizabeth Needlework Designs. I started this on February the 12th of this year. I'm using 32 count natural brown linen by Witchelt. I am using all the called for Weeks Dye Works, and this is where I'm at. Sorry. I could do a better job, but that's where I'm at. Trying to get all the borders done because I've made that mistake where my borders didn't line up. Next up, we have Moncher Cara Mia, which is a Patreon exclusive, I think, from the Witchy Stitcher. I'm using 14 count Olive Ada by Zigart. I started this on February the 13th of this year, and this is where I'm at. I'm using all the called for threads, which is DMC. That's where it's at. Then on February the 14th, I started by Tiny Modernist, All You Need Is Love. This is on 14 count White Ada by Zigart, using all the called for DMC except for I subbed out B5200 for Blanc because that is one of my favorite colors. I like the brightness of it. So this is where it's at. The next one is another Witchy Stitcher. It is, hold on, let me move some things. This is Welcome to the Crypt by the Witchy Stitcher. I started this March the 5th of this year. I'm using 14 count Black Ada by Zigart, using all the called for DMCs. The next one was started this year and then restarted. This is Wednesday by Kelly King of Forbidden Fiber Co. I restarted this on March the 8th. This is using 32 count Belfast Linen and Charcoal by Forbidden Fiber Co. And this is where I'm at. Not a lot. I'm using all the called for threads, and it is 2/2. Sorry, trying to flip through everything. The next one is called Shenanigans by Forbidden Fiber Co. This one is designed by Leanne Ross of Forbidden Fiber Co. or at Forbidden Fiber Co. I started this on March the 12th using 28 count Lugana in Brambling Brook and all the called for threads because I got this as a mystery bag. So that's where it's at. Next is by the Witchy Stitcher. It's called Ghost Family Crest. I started this March the 20th of this year. And I am using from the Primitive Hair, it's a mystery grab bag. And and it's a 30 count by Primitive Hair, and I'm using all the called for DMC, and that's what it looks like. Next up is the Crafty Bat by the Witchy Stitcher. I started this on March the 21st. I am using Forbidden Fiber Co. Charcoal in 14 count Ada, and I'm using all the called for DMC, and that is where I'm at. And I'm doing 3 strands, I believe. Yep, 3 strands of thread. Next up, I believe it's pronounced Gaia, Mother Earth. This is by Quarteron Creations on Etsy. And I started this April the 22nd. I am using 14 count Honeydew by Forbidden Fiber Co. And I am using Dinky Dye Silks Blue Groper, and it's 3 strands. And this is where I'm at. A small start, I know. Next up is from Hemlock and Rye. It's called Agnes Cairns 1815 Reproduction Sampler. I started this May the 5th as part of Karen from Fox and Rabbit's birthday start. And I wanted to join. Her birthday's on the 6th, but because she's in Australia, I believe, Australia, it would have been the 5th for here in the States. So this is where I'm at. I'm using 14 count Cactus Wren. Sorry, not 14 count, 40 count Cactus Wren. And I'm using none of the called for threads. I'm using Pirate and Robin. If you're interested in my conversion, check out my Instagram, Bomo Knits, or A Crafter's Crazy Obsessions, and you can see how it's written out, how it's done down below to get the right name. Next, we have Silver Siren by, I believe it's Rose. I should have kept it up. This is where. Celtic Rose X Stitch on Etsy. This is a full coverage, and I'm using 16 count Easy Grid by Zigart, and it called for DMC, so that's where I'm at on that. I started this May the 11th. And last but not least, we have No Kings by Witch's Garden Crafts on Etsy. You can actually find her patterns on Patreon or her Instagram, I believe, and it's linked. I'm using 14 count Ada from Vera's Stitching Quarter. It was a one of a kind. It is called Argentina, I believe. And I am using none of the called for threads because they were DMC. I'm using Forbidden Fiber Co. in Oceanside. I'm using Oceanside, Poinsettia, and Midas Touch. And this is what it looks like. And that's it. 18 whips. 18 whips. Oh. 18 whips and counting. because, yeah, because the year is not over with yet. We still have so many, August, September, October, November, 5 more months. So we still have 5 more months, or 4 months and 30 days, 29 days left. So that's it for the WIP parade. Everything will, all the patterns will be linked down below if they're available, except for that, the dimensions and the counterfeited Nightmare Before Christmas. Everything else will be linked down below. If you're interested in any of my conversions, let me know, and I will get them to you. As always, I hope you have a wonderful month and spend time with your loved ones, doing the things you love. And until next time, bye!